Hi everybody, welcome to 9.6, Solve Quadratic Equations by the Quadratic Formula. This is one of the most famous formulas in math because it works for everything. You know how sometimes we factor, right? Sometimes you solve by factoring. What else did we do to solve? Sometimes you can solve by square rooting both sides. Remember when we did that? That was nice. Something we just learned was completing the square. That works. So there's all these methods to solve a quadratic, but these only work when there's special types of problems. This formula that we're going to learn today always works. It works for any quadratic. Okay, so here it is. So the quadratic formula, it allows us to find the solutions to any quadratic equation. And just a reminder, a quadratic equation is in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So one thing to note, you always have to have it equal to 0 before you use it. Okay, here's the quadratic formula. This is going to seem hard to memorize, and you will have to memorize it, but I'm going to give you guys a song and a trick tomorrow in class. So to find the solutions of a quadratic equation, it's x equals negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2 times a. That is the quadratic formula. And if you know what a, b, and c are from your problem, you just plug them in and you get all the answers. All right, let's try one. So, number one, first thing, it's got to be in order equal to 0. So if we draw the wall, don't you guys agree that we have to subtract the 8 over, right? It's got it because it's got to equal 0. So let's subtract the 8 over, and then let's get a, b, and c in order. 3x squared plus 5x minus 8. Here's your a, here's your b, and here's your c. Don't actually subtract 8 from any of these because they're not like terms. Just put them in descending order. All right, and now we're going to plug the numbers into our formula. So x equals negative b. So if b is 5, then negative b is negative 5. And then plus or minus square root. b squared, so 5 squared, minus 4 times a is 3, times c is negative 8. Make sure you guys get that negative. The negative's included with the number that it's in front of. And then it's all divided by 2 times a, so 2 times 3. All right, now bust out your calculator. But remember, when there's a plus or minus, you have to type it in twice. Once with the plus and once with the minus. So let's do the plus version first. Okay, I would make a fraction. And then literally just type it in. So negative 5 plus square root 5 squared minus 4 times 3 times negative 8, all divided by 2 times 3. And it looks like our first answer is 1. So x equals 1. And now we got to do it all over again with the minus to get our second answer. But remember, you don't have to do it all over again. You could just go back up and hit enter, and you could just adjust and turn that plus sign into a subtraction sign. And that way you don't have to type it all in again. And the second answer is negative 8/3. And if you guys want to get that as a decimal, negative 8 divided by 3 is negative 0.267. If you want to round, it's up to you guys. Oh, sorry, you can't see that. All right, so that is the quadratic formula. It solves any quadratic. All right, let's try one more. Number 2, and then we're done. So first thing, get it in order, ABC order, and it must equal 0. So on this one, we have to subtract the x over so that the equation equals 0. All right, now be careful. We got to get it in order, in descending order. So the 2x squared comes first, the minus x comes second, and the minus 7 comes third. That's your ABC descending order. So in this problem, A is 2, B is actually negative 1, and C is negative 7. So make sure you include those negative signs with them. All right, we got A, B, and C. Let's plug them in. So the formula is to find x. X equals negative b. But be careful here. What's a negative? Negative 1. Because see how the formula has a negative already? So when you have a negative, negative, it actually becomes positive. Okay, so we're at positive 1, plus or minus, square root, b squared. So negative 1 squared. Don't forget the parentheses when b is negative. Remember, when you square a negative in the calculator, you need parentheses. Okay, so b squared. Minus 4 times a is 2, times c is negative 7. Make sure you get that negative in there. All divided by 2 times a, so 2 times 2. All right, bust out that calculator. Let's do the positive version first, and then we'll do the negative. So do your green, y equals, enter. All right, let's type it in. So 1 plus square root, parentheses, negative 1 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 7, all divided by 2 times 2. So our first answer is, we'll round to the nearest hundredth, 2.14. And then our second answer, we're just going to change the plus into a minus, and we should be done. So that'll be a minus now. And the second answer is negative 1.64. So those are our two answers. All right, quadratic formula. It's awesome. Works every time. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. See you tomorrow.